All right, let's get into it. New 30-minute game. Recording a couple of videos in one day, just so I don't have to do things over the weekend. 1 E4, hoping for a Caro-Kann. Not likely to see it. Ooh, we gotta fix a clock real quick. Let's see if we can't. There we go. I guess this is called the Philidor defense. I'm not familiar with this. My instinct is to play bishop out. I think bishop out to b5 rounds into c6, and then we got to relocate our bishop. Bishop out to c4 feels a little bit better. Yeah, I like that. I'll have to look after the game and see what the book moves are. Let's go and get castled. King tucked away to safety. No dangerous checks lurking. We get our knight out, and then can we play our pawn out to d4? Pushed out. We've got two defenders on it. Yeah, I don't see why not. Opening up our dark squared bishop. I'm missing something here. We get our rook out, hitting their king. They don't have great development opportunities for their dark squared bishop. Maybe we can keep an eye on that. If they are looking to get castled. Check. King comes out. We have a check here, but that loses to the knight. Already I'm liking our position quite a bit. It's looking a little dangerous for our opponent. I think probably the next move, unless they play something that we need to respond to, is rook to e1, developing a rook, and then pushing our pawn up to e5. It looks pretty good to me. Another option, maybe like, c3, and then queen out to a4 check, which is something I've been bitten by in the past. There we would have more options to respond, but they also have a lot of good blocking maneuvers. They have like knight out to c6 or d7, bishop out to d7, potentially pawn to c6. So they have a lot of good maneuvers there if we wanted to play that check. So I think probably the better move, stick to basic opening principles, get our remaining pieces developed, and then proceed once we're out of the opening. Opponent's taking some time to think about their move. I think, they take the pawn, which is hanging. We can move our rook out to pin the knight to the king, and then they might have to play, they could play f5 or d5 to block it, or potentially bishop out to f5, but I like that idea. Let's go and do that pin. This is a hanging piece, much like our pawn was a hanging piece. Now a potential danger of queen out to h4, delivering, I guess not checkmate, because we have this retreating square to go to, but that does look very dangerous, is queen approaching on f2. So we'll keep an eye on that. But actually, queen out to f6 loses the knight. How do we respond to queen to h4? I like the idea of potentially sacrificing here with check. King comes out. Queen to f3 check. And then the king has to move, and then we can take the knight. I think we would still have to be very careful there. Let's see what our opponent comes up with, though. this. We have two pieces out. They have one. We're down a pawn, unfortunately. Both of our center pawns have been snapped up. But I think we can play h3 and potentially get some of these pawns pushed up the board. If they play queen out to h4, are there any nice natural developing moves we could do? We could play bishop to e3, guarding this f2 pawn. That's my favorite idea because it releases the pin on this knight. They play a move that doesn't seem to protect the knight, but does interrupt the pin. Why wouldn't we just take here? If we take, their dark squared bishop will be pinned to the king. Their queen can't get out anywhere. Their one threatening piece is their light squared bishop. Let's see if there's anything that it can do. Loses, loses. Most of these moves are non-threatening or lose the bishop, so I think we can take here. All right, they push their pawn. I guess forking our bishop and our rook. We can take here. We'll take back with the queen. We could potentially take this bishop here. Take with check. I think they would have to take back with either the king or the queen. And either way, that gives us the opportunity to take this pawn. If we take here, it's effectively trading a piece. We restore material equality, but I don't like this look of queen on d5 threatening these pieces. That seems hard to defend them both. I worry that they'll be able to bring something else to bear pretty quickly. Well, no. I think I like trading two pieces for the rook a little bit better. They take with the king. We can move our queen out with check as an intermezzo. If they take with the queen, there we go, then we can take this piece, or we can go over here. If we come over here with check, I think they block with c6, and we don't have a strong sacrifice there, I don't think. If we take with the bishop, they can take back with a knight, and we can take with a knight. Hitting the queen, but not really doing much of anything else. If they come out here, we come out there, they come out here, we take with the knight. They take with the pawn, we take with the... Yeah, I think they have too many defenders on that square for that to be an effective sacrifice, so that's not going to work. Let's proceed thoughtfully. Our piece is hit. Can we take this safely, now that I'm looking at it? Take here. They could play, like, queen down to e5. Do we have a way to defend both of these pieces? Well, the knight is defended. What we could do is, like, move our knight over to f3, both hitting their queen and allowing the queen to protect this bishop. Yeah, so let's do that. They push forward with the pawn. That's interesting. So I want to reevaluate the sacrifice. Knight takes, bishop takes. No, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. What about here? Bishop takes on f7, leaving their king extremely exposed. That does assuming they take back with the queen, that does leave this nice forkable square here, but I don't see a way to take advantage of that. Maybe we just retreat our light squared bishop. We could also hit the queen like this, but I think that feels like overextending. Yeah, because I think like knight out here. Oh, knight out also just loses the knight to bishop takes. I got to keep an eye on their undeveloped pieces as well as their one developed piece. So I think dropping our light squared bishop back to b3 feels like a good move. There we go. We are safe for the moment. Now getting our bishop out to e3 looks a lot more appealing. Maybe we get our knight out to c3. I like knight to c3 because it doesn't have a lot of great squares to move to. Knight to d2 looks a little bit more appealing. So let's go ahead and play bishop to e3, protected by this pawn here. These are unforkable squares. Shucks, if we could get our dark squared bishop out here, this would be a killer maneuver, but it's undefended and attacked by the pawn. It doesn't go very well, I think. Our knight is now pinned to our queen. We have a defender here. I think maybe we play c3, preparing knight to d2, and then we can weasel our queen out on maybe out to f3 like this, and then we have this dangerous attack supported by our light squared bishop. So let's add another defender to our knight. Get our other knight out into position. Oh, here we go. Shucks. What can we do here? It seems likely that we're going to lose a piece. I don't think we can't handle this pawn, and this knight is protecting our queen, basically, or this rook is pinning this knight to our queen. Are there any sort of desperation moves that we can do here that will allow us to move with check? So we play bishop takes on f7. Their queen can take. And I don't think that accomplishes anything for us. Could we threaten... Maybe like... Ooh, here's an idea. Queen out. No, queen out to g4 loses the queen to the bishop. My idea was queen out. They take, we take back, and then we have this really nice checkmate idea on g7. Come out to f3. It's also an idea that's also hit by our light squared bishop. I like our bishops. Our bishops are in good positions. I think maybe we let them take here and we take back with the dark squared bishop. Oh. No, that doesn't work, does it? I was going to say queen to e2. They take, we take back, and we have this nice discovered attack on their queen. But it will be their turn, so they can instead take our queen. So I think queen out to f3 seems good. They'll take, we'll take back. I want to be cautious of back rank checkmate ideas here, which I think we just narrowly avoided. If we take here, they have queen to e1, checkmate. That would be checkmate. Okay. Jeez. Oh, that's not very good, is it? Maybe drop our bishop back to d2. where it's protected by our knight. Oh, this isn't looking good for us. Can we take back safely? We can't take back safely with the bishop because we have queen to e1, checkmate. Can we take back safely with the pawn? I think if we take with the pawn, they take with the rook. And that's dangerous but not terrible. And then maybe we can get our knight out to a3, which isn't great. Or I guess, yeah, take with the pawn, they take with the rook. Knight out. If they take, we can take back, and we're defending. Not only is our bishop defending the e1 square, but our rook is on that square as well. Okay, so I think take with this. Expecting them to take back because our bishop is effectively pinned in place right now, but it will not be for long. We're getting our pieces developed. We are down an exchange. Okay, they add an attacker. Does it make sense just to push this pawn up? I think it might. Their rook or their knight's going to come out to a5, most likely hitting our bishop. That's going to be dangerous. It is defended, but I don't want to lose it. I think we do need to develop our knight so we can open up this rook as a defender of the back rank. And then the question is, do we go to c3 or do we go to d2? My previous hesitance around knight to c3, I think there was a pawn on c6, preventing development to these squares. So let's see, we can go here, we can go here. This looks pretty good, knight to c3 and then knight to d5 hitting their queen and supported by our queen. So if they come down, we can take safely. Yeah, I guess the benefit of knight to d2 is it's another way of protecting our light squared bishop. But that's protected by a pawn, and if we can take on b3 with our pawn, that opens up our rook, potentially coming up the a file. So let's do knight to c3. We need to take back or move our queen. I guess this is still an option. No, because they come down here with check. So I think we do need to take back. Their rook will come down. Well, there goes ideas of queen over to g3 and then queen takes g7 checkmate. But I think that's all right. Now what we can do, we can play bishop to c5, hitting their queen, protected by our light squared bishop, and our queen as well. So they can't capture. Their queen needs to move somewhere. I think there's a danger in queen over to d7, aligning the queen and the rook. Although I guess our queen is defending the d1 square. So I'm not super worried about them forming a battery. So let's hit their queen. Potentially forking or hitting the king with check, which I think could be good. So they need to move their queen. They have a lot of spaces that they can move to, actually. No. Where would I move the queen if I was playing black? I think out to d7 looks decent. Because they have this They form a battery that's pointed at nothing super useful. So these are out. There's a lot of dangerous squares that they could move to. Or I guess not a lot of dangerous squares. Where else? That's dangerous. These are safe. Can I highlight them in different colors? Yeah. That's dangerous. And then is there a way that we can fork these pieces? We could do like Night Out like that, forking the queen and the rook. We also have this idea, once their light squared bishop develops, we have this idea of queen takes b7, sort of infiltrating their back rank. Okay, here we go. Let's focus on this. Queen to d6. Both of these forkable squares, although unfortunately, let's see, how does this work? If they take here, take. So they might be preparing like bishop out to e6. I think what we can do is preempt that with bishop out or rook out to e1, maintaining defense of our king. Well, how does this work? Rook out to e1, bishop out to e6, adding an attacker. We could potentially sacrifice a piece, which I don't love in this scenario. We could do like rook takes bishop, and then they have, if they do queen takes, we could like fork the queen and the rook. But then we have the danger of no back rank defenders. All of our defenders are pointed to d1, so that doesn't work. I think we should probably create well, this escape hatch doesn't work because the queen is staring it down right now. So maybe we create this escape hatch with g3. Let's do that. I feel like we're in danger a little bit. This is probably a prudent move. There is probably a better move to be played here, but I don't know what it is right now. Yep. Bishop out. We could potentially move here and hit their rook. We could move here with check. We lose the piece. We could move here without check. We lose the piece. Potentially taking here, but I don't think that accomplishes anything for us. I think maybe we threaten the rook. We move here, we threaten the rook. What squares does the rook have to go to? Let's take a look real quick. Move our queen over to e3. Can't stay in place. Nope. This loses. So it's got a couple of safe squares. Nope. A handful of safe squares, but it's nowhere where it's really threatening our pieces in a meaningful way. So yeah, let's move over one, threaten the rook. If they take with the bishop, we take the rook. They take with the queen, we take the queen, no problem. And then we take the rook after they take back with the bishop. They're not going to take with the queen. That would be fabulous. A little bit of danger, I guess, moving if the rook moves to either f4 or h4. Taking with the pawn sort of cracks open our position. And if they got their queen over here to g6 or anywhere on the g file, our king is in a little bit of danger there. So we would want to be cautious, especially with this light squared bishop that could sort of lodge in at h3, creating this mating net. That would be dangerous. Okay, so they take the knight. We will take back. Oh, we lose this exchange, don't we? What can we do about this? We're just down another piece. All right. Well, we can get our rook out and pin their bishop to their queen. It's a good first move. Their queen here, they'll probably want to align their rook so that they win any exchanges. That gives us an opportunity to take on a7. I don't like this. I think we're entertaining ideas of checkmate from our opponent. Okay, so perhaps preparing rook to d8, preventing us from playing queen takes a7. And we can't... The only way we can support the rook and its attack on the bishop is with d2, d3, d4. We can't get off to the side of the bishop with either of these moves because they're guarded by pawns. So good moves from our opponent. Taking, I don't think, does anything. We can't deliver checkmate with just the queen. What are our options? Some pawn moves, not super appealing. We could align our queen and our rook, threatening back rank ideas, but they have this escape square on h7, so we're not going to be able to deliver checkmate that way. Maybe just get a rook out to an open file off of a light square, because they have this nice light squared bishop. The e-file's open. Let's align our rook and our queen. At least we can do that. At least we can do that. And there is maybe an option of, like, if their knight or their rook comes out to sweep up some of our pawns, maybe we shift our queen over here and then deliver checkmate on the back rank with the queen guarding the escape square. I think we still have some defensive structure around our king. Obviously, with this bishop staring down to our escape hatch, that's not ideal, and then they will have their own back rank mate ideas. Well, no longer. They take a pawn. We can trap them in for the time being with our queen guarding this pawn. It's a nice maneuver. If they try to get out, we'll take them with our rook. Okay. So we're not up a piece, but are doing a little bit better. Expecting to see maybe rook comes out to c2, or I would love to see that. Maybe while they're doing that, we can play like queen down to e2, threatening to take their bishop. No, that doesn't work, because if we go down, they go up. So we need some way. Maybe queen comes over to... Yeah, queen comes over to c3 and then b2 to get the bishop. That could work. Okay. But we've got this light square bishop trapped for the time being, so we have a little bit of breathing room. We have sort of an equal number of pieces with which to pressure our opponent. They make some dastardly plans to attack our piece. Maybe we move our queen up to e4 to hit their rook. So they will have to move that. But now, ooh, what if we moved our rook over to a1? I think then they have queen to b2. Oh, that looks bad. And then our rook is in danger and we've wasted a tempo. So I think hitting their rook is a good next move. Also potentially hitting in this escape square. But let's see what we can do. To aggress a little bit, I think. As long as this bishop is trapped, we have some options until we're able to like deal with that. Or as soon as our opponent has a free tempo to escape their bishop, we'll be in trouble again. But I think we have 11 and a half minutes to figure this out. What do we think about this? What do we think about this? Maybe queen over. No, that doesn't work. Queen over to defend the pawn, but they can simply take. Can we generate another threat? I don't see a way to do it without sacrificing the rook. Queen to h7 check does not accomplish anything. Queen could come up to e7. No, that loses to their queen. So that's effectively a queen trade we take back. And we've traded queens, and maybe we can be like up a pawn. Well, it's a pawn trade because they take back on b3. So a queen trade, and then we have a rook versus a rook and a bishop, which is no good. We could get our rook out like up here. No, if we could get our rook out supporting the queen as it attacks g7, that's an idea. So maybe we move our queen over here, preparing for a rook lift up and over. Gets our queen off of a light square as well, which I like. Yes, maybe queen over 1, 2, 3, 4 moves to checkmate. As long as our opponent doesn't anything. If our opponent doesn't make any substantial moves, then we'll be in a good spot. But I suspect that they will have some ideas. We could push our pieces all the way up. I guess that's just 2 moves away. So if we had, maybe that was an idea. If we had instead push up. No, this doesn't block the escape square because it's too far away. We 1, 2, 3. That blocks the escape square, but then they can simply take if they wanted to do that. Maybe that's not a bad idea, just pushing this pawn up. Or they probably take here. I'm expecting to lose this pawn on b3. We will... Is this meaningful? I don't think delivering... Well, if they take with the queen, I don't think delivering this attack on e3 supported by these 2 pieces is meaningful. They can simply come down with check, forcing us to move, and then they have like another check here. That doesn't look very good for us. Okay, so they take with the bishop. This rook to e3 maybe back in the cards. Pinning. No, I don't think so. It pins, quote unquote, the bishop to the queen, but they can simply move the queen out check, forcing us up here, and it's the same situation we saw last time, so that's no good. So I think moving forward with our plan, rook to e4, trusting this somewhat holy pawn structure to support our king as it goes into hiding on g2. So I'm expecting to see something like queen to c1, king up to g3, and then well, I guess bishop to d5 doesn't do anything. Maybe they will just like push a pawn. I don't know. Bishop to e6 looks like a solid defensive move as they push these pawns. There we go. This looks like a good defensive move because it prevents us from playing rook to g3. Setting up our one and only checkmate idea. I don't think the rook can come out anywhere useful, so I think if we can play rook out to g4, that's promising. Expecting to see... Okay. So they're offering a queen trade. We don't want a queen trade. Maybe we move back here. Oh, that's kind of gross. Ooh. Well, actually, no, this is doable. So queen back to b2, threatening their bishop. Likely... Oh, that pins the rook to the king. Ooh, that's nasty. Okay. What happens if we just deliver check? I mean, we can't deliver check with just a rook, unfortunately. So they'll probably come out to f6. I really don't want to trade queens. Does coming back do anything and allowing this pawn to take instead? We potentially have a passer that hits their light squared bishop. No, pretty much no matter what we do, their light squared bishop is going to come up to d5. So we need to stay somewhere where we can protect this d5 square. Doesn't work. We could drop our queen back to d3. No, we don't even need to protect the d5 square. We just need like a moment. We need them. We need to initiate this trade, unfortunately. So we need them to capture so we have time to get our rook out of the way. So we can do like trade, rook up to e7 to start trying to hoover up some pawns. Checks. Was a well-engineered queen trade from our opponent. Go up. Staying off of light-colored squares on account of their light-colored bishop. It's probably now time to activate our king. We have 3 pawns, one of which we might be able to promote. Yep, and let's activate our king. So let's get moving here. Not moving my rook over immediately because they have either rook to c7 or rook to a7. Both of these, they can just push the pawn and it's protected by their knight. So holding off for just a moment. Now I think would be a good time to play the rook, sort of locking these two into place. I believe we have time to catch this pawn, but we want to be cautious of this rook coming out to d8 and preventing us from accomplishing our plans. Which seems likely to happen. Although both of these are dark-colored promotion squares. Yeah, okay. Stay down here. I guess they can push this one. I can come down to threaten their pieces. There we go. That looks good. I think perhaps the correct move is getting your rook and king onto the back rank to guard against promotions. So I should have thought of that before entering into this position. So we pick up a rook, or a bishop, but they get a queen. Obviously, that's very dangerous for us. They could they could underpromote with a knight and fork our king and our rook. That would be, I think that would be a pretty good move actually. Like guaranteed getting rid of our rook, which is challenging to do. Okay, they don't go for it. I thought that was a neat idea. I think this game is going to be over pretty quickly. We'll see if our opponent cooks anything extra special up. Honestly, queen to d1. Yeah, we trade. Queen to d1 there. Look good. This looks a little bit better. Okay, they have two queens. Let's try to stay near to our pawns so that maybe we can form some sort of defensive barrier. Our opponent has 13 minutes to deliver checkmate with two queens. I think you queen out to f2. Well, no, we sort of have this escape square on f3. But I suspect they will be able to ladder checkmate us pretty effectively without too much of a hassle. You know, one would hope. Check. Maybe queen to c3, but then we have king to g2. This could be, we could put up a little bit of a fight. They have 12.5 minutes to figure it out. We have 6 minutes to defend. I trust that our opponent will be able to deliver checkmate, but I am very much of the school of thought that... Ooh, that's a good move. Gets one of our pawns. I'm very much the school of thought that you should not resign, especially around this rating. I believe in myself. You never know when your opponent might make a critical blunder. Like queen takes g3 instead of queen takes h2, which is a very good move. It's been a tough losing streak. I think this is the 4th game that all have lost. I think that's all right. You know, things come and go. We're back to the grindstone of studying openings, studying chess. I want to stay close to my pawn here. There we go. They might take the pawn, and we can take back. Maybe they don't know how to deliver checkmate with a king and a queen. Honestly, with two queens on the board, and I feel like chances of drawing are a little bit higher. The more pieces you have on the board, you have to be more and more careful. So you never know. Draw doesn't win us any elo, doesn't lose us any elo, but lose by checkmate does lose us some elo. I had a brilliant. It's exciting. I guess maybe I can look at that another time. I don't have the unlimited analysis. Let's see where we fell off. Philidor defense. Slight advantage for white here. I'm just going to sort of zoom through until... Big advantage for white. Yep, pin. Big advantage for white. We get the piece. They push. Rook takes e7 check is the top engine move, so I did that correctly. This is all looking pretty good. We did have some sort of advantage. Castle, we get our bishop out. Here we go. So this neutralizes... c3 was fully the wrong move. Why is that? That, I guess... We did need to worry about moving our queen. What are the engine moves here? Knight to d2, so that's a move that we were eyeing. We still have a defender on this knight. Queen to f1, maybe opening up this diagonal. opening up something like, oh, queen to c4, making a battery here, and then threatening nasty checkmate maneuvers on f7 once the queen sort of departs, or queen to c1, maybe encouraging similar ideas along this diagonal. Okay, so a miss there. They have c5, which is correct. I guess really, yeah, moving the queen out of the way is the big maneuver there. Somehow breaking this pin. We did not accomplish that. We did, but a little bit too late. They take, and now the game is a little bit in black's advantage. Fairly a black's advantage. Okay, yeah. This, that, okay, and now we're down a piece. Yeah. Yep. Tough stuff. Trapping the bishop doesn't seem to have affected the rating. Check up. There, we're getting into checkmate territory. Engine is saying if they do something other than take the queen, recapture, then white has a substantial advantage. Doesn't seem very likely to me. Yeah, just sort of ripping through this. This is not super instructive. Black is getting into mate in 10, mate in 17, rapidly approaching. Yeah, mate in 7. I wonder if the engine lists. The engine doesn't list under promotion. Just getting a queen is far too strong. Mate in 2. So they missed a couple of mating ideas. King to f3. Queen to b7 check. These are hard to see sometimes. Moving your queen way across the board to induce check. 7. King to g4. Queen to g5 check. King to h3 is forced, and then queen to h5 checkmate. So that could have been a little bit faster. I'm not super worried that it took an extra 6 moves. This game was toast as soon as we lost that second piece. All right. Well, tomorrow's a new day. We'll hit it again tomorrow, and maybe we'll get a win. That's all for me. Have a good one.